Imagine the oldest, dustiest, maybe most physically punishing industry in America.
Right.
Like a world of worn leather, barbed wire, brutal weather.
Handshake deals at the local auction barn.
Exactly, handshake deals.
Ah.
Now, take that entire image and, well, violently collide it with the bleeding-edge frontier of artificial intelligence, blockchain, and vector databases.
It is such a wild combination. I mean, two totally different worlds just crashing into each other.
It really is. So, welcome to today's deep dive. We're so glad you're here with us. Today, we have a really fascinating stack of sources. We've got a strategic report that breaks down the kind of existential challenges facing small and medium-sized U.S. cattle ranchers right now.
Yeah, the physical and economic stuff.
Right. And then, paired with that, we have this highly technical, deep research blueprint for building an AI-powered platform called Mercado AI.
Which is incredibly ambitious.
Oh, massively. So our mission for this deep dive is to figure out how you can actually apply bleeding-edge AI to save one of the oldest industries on Earth. And, what that teaches us about forcing Silicon Valley tech into a very messy physical world.
Yeah, what does it actually take to bring that kind of architecture to the dirt roads of the Midwest?
Exactly. So, okay, let's unpack this. To even understand why this tech is necessary, you have to look at the stark reality of the modern rancher. They are just squeezed from every angle.
Absolutely.
I mean, the margins are notoriously razor thin. The workforce is aging out. The average age is creeping right up to 60 years old. And then you add severe multi-year droughts, like literal lack of grass. But the real bottleneck is market consolidation. Just four massive meatpacking companies control roughly 85% of all U.S. beef processing.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is that consolidation is the root of the economic problem. Small ranchers are operating in this structurally disadvantaged system.
Trapped in an oligopoly.
Right, an extreme oligopoly. If you're running a family operation, you might literally only have one local buyer within driving distance, or you have to haul your cattle to a single wrinkly sale barn. So when competition is that mathematically sparse, you have zero leverage.
You can't get fair market value.
You simply can't.
Huh.
So Mercado AI is designed to act as a digital wedge. It wants to take the cattle out of that isolated local barn and instantly put them in front of a real-time virtual marketplace nationwide.
But okay, that exposes a huge human problem immediately. If your user base averages 60 years old and they've spent their whole lives doing business on paper ledgers, how on earth do you get them to use a complex digital marketplace? Like if you hand them a screen full of drop-down menus and spreadsheets, they're going to delete the app in 3 seconds.
Exactly. I mean, the developers explicitly acknowledge that. Brittle web forms will completely fail, so they bypassed forms entirely.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they architected a conversational AI using a manager-specialist structure built on the OpenAI Agents SDK.
Okay, for anyone who doesn't live and breathe AI development, what does that actually mean?
Right, so the OpenAI Agents SDK isn't just about making a chatbot that talks back to you. It's a framework where the AI can actively route tasks, trigger background functions, manage workflows, all invisibly.
So the user, the rancher, only talks to one single intelligence.
Right. The blueprint calls it the Rancher Concierge Agent. Think of it as the ultimate front door. The rancher opens the app and just speaks normally like, I need to sell 40 head of Black Angus steers next Thursday.
And it just handles it.
Yeah. The concierge understands the intent, grabs the data, and secretly hands off the heavy lifting to 5 specialist agents. There's an auction agent for bids, a load pooling agent looking at maps, a transport cost agent doing freight math, a compliance agent for health rules, and a settlement agent drafting the contracts.
Okay, wait, if I'm a rancher running on razor-thin margins,
Yeah.
I have a major pushback here. I do not want an AI hallucinating the price of my cattle.
Oh, totally.
Or like inventing a truck route out of thin air. We've all seen language models completely fail at basic math. Isn't it super dangerous to let an LLM handle the actual financials of a commercial transaction?
It would be disastrous, and the developers completely agree. That's the exact vulnerability they had to solve. So the blueprint establishes this non-negotiable golden rule. The agents do not own the business logic.
Okay, so what do?
They only orchestrate, explain, and summarize. Every single critical calculation, the live bids, route solving, compliance checks, is pulled from typed tools and deterministic code.
Deterministic meaning like traditional rigid math engines.
Exactly. Hard-coded software that gives the same answer every single time. So when the AI tells a rancher it'll cost $300 to move your herd, the language model didn't invent that number. It pinged a math engine, got the hard data, and just used its conversational skills to explain it in plain English. The agents explain the data, they don't invent it.
Got it. Okay, so that separation of logic and language is huge. It keeps the interface friendly but safe. So, moving on, let's say the AI successfully sells the cattle at auction. Great price. But now you have a massive physical problem. You still have to move a 1,000-pound animal off the dirt.
And onto a processor's lot.
And the sources show that input costs, specifically diesel fuel, are just crushing these guys. If you sell 20 cows but hire a massive semi-truck, you're running a half-empty trailer.
Which destroys your profit margin.
Right. So Mercado's answer to this is basically Uber Pool, but for livestock.
Uber pool for cows, exactly.
Yeah. If nearby ranches can pool their cattle into one truck going to the same processor, everyone splits the freight cost. But, okay, calculating the financial breakdown of a shared ride across hundreds of ranches in real time, that sounds like a total nightmare.
It is a notoriously brutal math problem. To figure out fair pricing for pooled resources, you usually use something called Shapley-style cost allocation.
Shapley math. Okay.
But the problem with Shapley is that it requires calculating the marginal contribution of every single person across every possible route combination. If 4 ranches share a truck, you calculate the cost if A went alone, if A went with B, if A went with B and C, and so on.
Wow.
Yeah, it's incredibly computationally heavy, highly accurate, but way too slow for a live app. The system would just hang.
And the rancher closes the app.
Exactly, so they have to speed it up. The platform uses a 3-layer system to prevent the whole thing from crashing. Layer 1 is the fast estimate layer. Instead of calculating a physical route from scratch, it uses learned cost predictors and cached matrices.
Like a giant cheat sheet of past trips.
Right, so it instantly slaps a highly educated baseline estimate on the screen, less than a second.
So they bypass the heavy Shapley math just to give you a number fast.
Yeah.
But you can't bill someone on a guess.
No, you can't. Which is why layer 2, the exact root solve layer, runs asynchronously in the background while you're looking at that estimate. It hooks into Mapbox or Google's Compute Route Matrix API paired with OR tools.
And OR tools is handling the physical constraints, right? Like truck weight limits or operating hours.
Yeah, vehicle capacity, time windows, dropped visits. And then the 3rd layer is the final settlement layer. It only locks in the exact billable cost when the truck's dispatch is completely finalized.
Here's where it gets really interesting to me. The UI, the user interface, is built to be totally transparent about this. Research on these collaborative platforms constantly shows that users will just bail if they feel like a black box algorithm is tricking them.
Oh, 100%. Trust is the ultimate currency.
Right. If my shipping cost jumps $50, I'm going to be furious. But Mercado's UI explicitly tells you why. It'll say, your cost dropped because the Smith Ranch joined your pool, or it went up because of a highway detour. It explains the community economics to you.
Because if the tech isn't socially legible, they'll just go back to the one truck guy they've known for 20 years. The algorithm has to justify itself.
Okay, so the trucks are optimized. But again, software hits a hard wall when it meets the physical world. Getting a truck there efficiently doesn't matter if you don't have the feed to keep the cattle alive. The sources point out the U.S. cattle herd has hit a 70-year low.
Yeah, largely driven by severe droughts.
And a severe labor shortage, right?
Yeah. And if we connect this to the bigger picture, an app cannot synthesize water, it cannot build a fence or make it rain. When pastures dry up, ranchers have to liquidate early because they can't afford astronomical feed prices.
So the tech is kind of useless there.
Well, not entirely. Mercado's fast marketplace does allow rapid destocking during a drought. You can access national buyers before the cattle lose too much weight waiting for a local auction. But the analysis suggests that the blueprint really needs to expand.
Expand how?
To include things like a feed and forage marketplace, cooperative labor pools, maybe climate forecasting, to truly solve those physical limitations.
That makes sense. But okay, bringing it back to the tech backend. How does a platform handle all these wildly different data types, like matching buyers based on vague descriptions, but also doing exact route optimization and tracking every single penny?
Yeah, standard databases can't do both efficiently, so Mercado splits the brain. It uses 2 completely different databases. For the strict financial ledgers, the lots, the finalized quotes, the bank settlements, it uses PostgreSQL. It's a robust, rigid relational database, perfect for an accountant.
But for the matchmaking side?
They use Neo4j. It's a graph database, and they supercharge it with an HNSW vector index for semantic matching.
Okay, semantic matching sounds like pure Silicon Valley jargon. What does that actually mean for matching a buyer to a cow?
Well, think about a standard search. If you type high-quality Midwestern steers, a traditional database only finds exact keyword matches. But semantic matching turns the cattle's traits, breed, weight, location, feed history into numerical values mapped out in a massive, multidimensional space.
So it's not a flat spreadsheet, it's like a 3D map where similar things physically cluster together.
Exactly. So the system instantly calculates which ranches or routing pools are mathematically closest to the concept you asked for, even if the rancher used different words. It understands meaning and compatibility. So the strict accountant handles the money in PostgreSQL, and the intuitive matchmaker handles the relationships in Neo4j.
That is an incredibly elegant solution. I love that. But as if weather and logistics and vector databases weren't enough, we have to talk about government bureaucracy.
Oh, yes. The tracking mandate.
Right. Our sources outline a major regulatory shift. The USDA recently finalized a rule mandating RFID electronic ID tags for certain cattle moving across state lines. Now, full disclosure to you listening, our goal isn't to take a side here. We just want to look at how the tech handles this.
Right. The government sees this as vital for biosecurity and disease tracking.
But small ranchers hate it. The source is, quote, producers saying it's expensive, complex, and feels like a massive invasion of privacy. But Mercado tries to turn this pain point into a feature, using a blockchain-based ownership tracking system.
Yeah, creating an immutable digital ledger of the cow's journey.
Exactly. It makes compliance automatic and theoretically lets ranchers charge a premium for verified origin beef. But I have to ask, are we literally putting an Apple AirTag on every cow's ear to track them live on a blockchain from space?
No, no. And the blueprint goes out of its way to correct that exact misconception. Live animal tracking in the U.S. is not real-time GPS by ear tag. The USDA tags are a passive RFID. They have to be physically scanned with a wand, and they're tied to a static premises ID.
Okay, so if the tags don't broadcast a live GPS signal, how does the Mercado dashboard offer a live tracking feature for the buyer?
It uses a construct called event plus telemetry. The system doesn't track the cow constantly. It records specific scan events. A cow is scanned stepping onto the truck, that's an event. Then the platform stops caring about the tag and pulls live GPS telemetry from the truck driving down the highway. When it arrives and the cow steps off and is scanned again, that's the final event logged to the ledger.
So the truck does the live tracking, and the tag just verifies the endpoints.
Precisely. If cattle are just grazing in a field for 6 months, the dashboard doesn't fake a light green dot moving on a map. It just says ready. It's an auditable system that aligns with how physical logistics actually work in the dirt.
Wow. Event plus telemetry. That is a brilliant way to bridge Silicon Valley expectations with, actual physical limitations on a farm.
It really is.
So what does this all mean? We started with an industry battered by oligopolies, droughts, and aging workforce. I think this deep dive proves that solving massive real-world problems requires a whole symphony of technologies. You need LLM agents to communicate smoothly. You need graph databases to match complex variables.
Or our tools for the logistics.
Right. Or tools for half-empty trucks and blockchain for trust. But none of that works if it doesn't deeply respect the economic and physical realities of the user.
It always comes back to the human element. The tech in these sources is masterful, undeniably. But looking at all of this together leaves me with one really big thought. A thought I want to leave you, the listener, with today.
Yeah, what is it?
If a platform like Mercado AI is totally successful, if it perfectly optimizes the cattle market, eliminates inefficiencies, and standardizes every handshake into an algorithm, what happens to the cultural fabric of the independent rancher? In our rush to save the economics of the family farm through AI, do we risk accidentally turning the American cowboy into just another optimized node in a supply chain algorithm?
Man, a perfectly efficient, mathematically optimized machine, but maybe one that loses a bit of the dust, the leather, and the human friction that made it what it was. That is definitely something for you to mull over the next time you're driving down the highway and see cattle out in a pasture. That's all for today's deep dive. We'll see you next time.